Logical and
The
analytical
whole
mind.
notion of
Thank you.
logic.
I prefer the concrete, the graspable, the provable.
You'd make a splendid computer, Mr. Spock.
And from Al-Mayadeen, calls to dismiss Ben Gvir. Israel falls deeper into the pit of chaos as Israeli lawmakers call on Netanyahu to dismiss his police minister Itamar Ben Gvir over the latest development and his extremist stances. Israel's Ben Gvir claims Attorney General exceeding her authority, says memo. Israel National Security Minister Itamar Ben Gvir yesterday slammed Attorney General Gali Baharava Miara, accusing her of exceeding her authority. Ben Gvir criticized the Attorney General for not consulting him before ordering the decision to remove Tel Aviv District Police Commander Amichai Eshed from his position to be immediately frozen. Baharav Miara, the Times of Israel, reported questioned the legality of the decision, pointing out that it was widely seen as politically motivated. Ben Gvir said that position she's taken against legislation advanced by his far-right Otzma Yehudit party showed he could not rely on her to faithfully represent him in court. He also claimed the whole coalition government led by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was frustrated by the Attorney General. When asked in an interview whether she should be fired, Ben Gvir said the day is coming when the coalition government will have to make a decision about her.
A wave of massive demonstrations has taken Israel by storm.
Yeah, a wave of massive demonstrations has taken Israel by storm. And memo says judicial overhaul to go ahead, and opposition organizing coup. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday pledged to go ahead with his planned judicial overhaul, accusing the opposition of working to oust his government, Safa news agency reported. During the weekly cabinet meeting, Netanyahu said the process of judicial overhaul is going on because the government's got a mandate from the people to rule and enact laws. Netanyahu accused the opposition of having contradictions, saying, "You can't be in favor of Israel's economy and encourage the withdrawal of funds from Israel. You cannot be in favor of the rule of law and encourage violations of the law." He also said, "You cannot be in favor of national security and encourage refusal to serve to collapse the security of the state. You cannot say I support the country, but if you don't accept my position, I'll leave the country." On Sunday, about 300,000 Israelis took to the streets for the 10th consecutive week, protesting against Netanyahu's planned judicial overhaul, which many have called a judicial coup. And here is Press TV's interview with David Miller.
And welcome to Press TV, this regular news segment. We have a special program for you. Very happy to be here in the studio with an award-winning producer and writer of Press TV's Palestine Declassified, David Miller. Thank you so much for being with us.
It's a pleasure.
Well, it's really nice to see you. Welcome to Iran, and congratulations. Yesterday you won an award for the best program, and really congrats on that. I'd like to start off, David, just introducing yourself to our viewers, because perhaps people are not familiar with you and your very interesting story.
So I'm called David. I'm from Scotland. Conflicts.
Yeah.
In particular, the words, "I have been attacked and complained about by members of the Bristol Jewish Society and Bristol in 2018. And then shortly thereafter, I did a lecture on Islamophobia. And I talked, it's part of that lecture for a couple of minutes, about the role of Zionists in funding some aspects of Islamophobia. And that led to a series of complaints against me, an 18-month-long lawyer's investigation of me, which concluded that I hadn't said anything, not a sentence, not a clause, not a word, which was anti-Semitic, and therefore there was no case to answer.
Right. But at the same time, even though you were found that you hadn't said anything anti-Semitic, what happened with your job?
Well, so 6 weeks later, the university said that's fine, nothing to worry about. 6 weeks later, I went on a political show on a Saturday afternoon, not in work, not about work, and I said the fateful words, "I have been attacked and complained about by members of the Bristol Jewish Society and by the Union of Jewish Students." And it was those words, attacked and complained about, which got me into trouble. They instituted a new inquiry, but of course the words themselves were true. I had been attacked and complained about by these organisations. They instituted a new inquiry, which again found that I hadn't said anything anti-Semitic, but it wasn't the words that I'd said the problem, said the university. It was the way in which I had said them.
The way you said it, not what you had said.
Yeah.
So, David, you know, you said you started as what?
1984, the actual year, came round and everyone said, "Oh, it's really like 1984 now." In the UK, we were in the middle of a year-long miners' strike, a defining moment in British history. And it was a little bit like that. The Thatcher government was very, very reactionary and censorious, but it was nothing like the period we're now in, an extraordinary period, not just in relation to Israel and Palestine, the occupation of Palestine, but also in relation to other conflicts. In particular, the war in Ukraine. That's had a huge impact on narrowing the space for the possibility to speak out. I can't think that I would ever have imagined that a professor could be sacked from his permanent job as a result of saying a couple of words which were factually true, but which upset some students.
But surely you must have seen over time now, we've had other professors, especially in the United States. I'm talking from the US, perhaps I'm just more familiar, obvious with things that are happening over there. From Norman Finkelstein to Cynthia McKinney, many others, that no longer can work in the United States. If they want to teach, they have to go outside of the country. And I think Norman couldn't even get a job teaching junior high kids. So with that being said, I mean, what does that mean about the priorities for these countries? So if you're in the United States or the UK, but you cannot criticize something that is a reality, but it's related to either Israel or the Zionists, or sometimes just Jews, what does that say? I mean, where's the loyalty of these governments?
Well, I mean, yes, there have been very many cases in the US, and the case I'm reminded of is the case of Stephen Salaita, who was no longer able to teach in academia, now drives a school bus, as many people know, and still writing.
Unbelievable.
Brilliant book he just published. So yeah, it says a lot about the way in which the foreign policy establishments of the UK and the US are so closely entwined with Zionism and the support of Zionism. Now, they have their differences sometimes, but they actually operate together such a lot of the time in international conflicts, but also in terms of policing the boundaries of dissent within the UK, the US, France and Germany. Germany is worse than the UK even.
Right. But what does it mean for the people themselves in these countries? I mean, it just seems, well, you're talking about foreign policy, but this is something that happened inside of your country, right? So is it that Israel is more of a priority, or Zionist is more than a priority than an actual Brit or an American? Because you were just teaching and you were saying what you said was the truth, but at the end of the day, you're paying a very heavy price.
Well, I paid a very heavy price. They sacked me. I mean, they had a long 3-year campaign against me where, in the end, they were able to get the signatures of about 150 members of the Houses of Parliament to call for me to be sacked. And it says a lot about the power of the Israel lobby internally in the UK and in other Western countries. And that partly is to do with the level of organisation they have. I mean, there is no, in any way, similar Muslim lobby or Palestinian lobby which is anything like the.
Do you think that if the lobby existed, like a Muslim lobby or Palestinian lobby, that they could make the kind of waves that the Israeli lobby makes, whether we're talking about the U.S. or U.K.?
It would help if there was much more organisation and money put behind it, but what gives the Zionist lobby that extra power is the way in which the Jews in the society are inserted at a much higher level economically. Muslims, by and large, in my country, in the UK, are really economically disadvantaged. They suffer the most racism. They're most economically disadvantaged of all ethnic groups, and that's a distinction which matters, because it means that they're not part of the British establishment.
I'm just listening to what you just said and how.
And from Memo, France 24 fires journalist over pro-Palestine stance. France 24 has fired renowned Palestinian journalist Layla O'Day after opening an investigation into her use of pro-Palestine terminology on her personal social media accounts. The agency accused O'Day of incitement and anti-Semitism for using the term martyr in reference to Palestinians killed by Israel in 1948 lands, when referring to the land of Palestine under the British mandate before Israel's establishment. The channel considered that O'Day had contradicted the channel's media policy in dealing with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. O'Day, who speaks Arabic, English, Hebrew, and Russian, began her career in '93. She joined the French channel in 2007. And from Palestine Chronicle, France 24 suspends renowned journalist over pro-Palestine stance. France 24 TV suspended renowned Palestinian journalist Layla O'Day on Saturday after opening an investigation into her use of pro-Palestine terminology on her personal social media accounts, the Middle East Monitor reported. The television network accused O'Day of incitement and anti-Semitism for using the term martyr in reference to Palestinians killed by Israel and 1948 lands, when referring to the land of Palestine under the British mandate before Israel's establishment. The channel considered that O'Day had contradicted the channel's media policy in dealing with the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. O'Day speaks Arabic, English, Hebrew, and Russian, and began her career in '93, and she joined the French channel in 2007. Yep, so watch this space on that, and we'll have more reporting on that story. And in the meantime,